Is Wednesday, August 27th. We are here for the Orange Township Board of Trustees meeting. We are discussing zoning hearing ZON-25-05. Mr. 24, yep, that one, 24-05. Mr. Duffy, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Faust.
Here.
Trustee Knapp.
Here.
And Trustee Ringel. Not here.
He is not here this evening. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so this is a continuation of a meeting we had about a month ago where we started to go over our draft zoning code that we have been in. This started in like about 2019, the process did. So, Mr. Duffy, I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you, Trustee Faust. Last time I went through a big presentation at the beginning. I'm not going to talk that long this time, but just wanted to provide you with some updates since our previous meeting, kind of get a feel for what topics that you all want to discuss and things that we want to come together on for following meetings and go from there. So, Eric, you can see that there's only 3 slides tonight as opposed to the 12 or so that I had last time, so making progress. All right, so just to recap where we are. So we have the draft code. We have not really made any edits to the document itself since the last time. We've just been kind of gathering facts and comments and compiling them all together. Once we get to a stage, probably after the next meeting, we'll take all that feedback and come back with a new draft. But just so we're all on the same page, there's no changes to the text since our previous meeting. But we are continuing to review. Each one of us in the zoning department has kind of taken on some different topics to do research on and provide some answers to questions from the previous meeting. We did get some answers from legal counsel regarding questions that you all as the board had asked, and that feedback was provided to you in written format. We can talk about those if you want, but hopefully you have more clarity on those issues. Since the previous meeting, we did hold a meeting with some of the residents in the Lewis Center Village area. Not a large crowd, but a couple residents were in attendance for that, along with Trustee Ringel and Michelle Bowney and myself. So we had a good discussion. It was kind of the takeaway was that the overlay district, as it was written, was a good concept and a good idea, but in practice it might not really be that helpful. I think the consensus was that it's probably not necessary. Certainly willing to discuss that further, but I think the general consensus from that meeting is that it should probably be removed from the document moving forward. Okay, and then they would just do zoning applications, rezoning the way we normally do and that kind of thing? Correct. Okay. Most of Lewis Center Village is zoned farm residential. Right. So they would essentially follow farm residential rules. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
We've all kind of come around and gotten some more research, some more data on questions that we had, or that you all had from the last meeting. So I figure we can kind of go through those in as much or as little detail as you both want, and we can see if those spur off additional questions or comments. If you need more information, then we can just have it be an open-ended discussion. We can have some time for public comment and any other topics that you all wish to discuss. Okay, so the first one, so we talked a lot at the previous hearing about C2 and then FR1, because as a reminder, these are straight zoning districts that we have in the current zoning code. They would remain in the new zoning code, but the rules might change a little bit for them. So I think the big questions were, okay, where are these, and then what would be changing? Because we understand that we're putting into place new zoning districts, but they're not appearing on the zoning map. They would just be options for people to rezone to in the future. But these are things that people have properties that are zoned C2 and FR1, and I think the consensus from the board was you all wanted to understand where those were and what was changing. So we did a little more of a deep dive into that.
Can I ask a clarifying question before you teach us more about it?
Sure.
So say I have an FR1 property and I want to do something with it that now meets the new FR1 guidelines, do I have to come and get like FR1 to the new FR1 zoning?
No.
I can just go ahead and do it as long as it follows the new FR1 guidelines?
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, and if you're establishing a new use or a new building or something, generally it requires some kind of approval,
Well, right.
Even if it's just administrative permit.
Okay.
But it would, if something is added that's new, then it's permitted by right moving forward.
Okay.
So Eric, can you please bring up the map of the properties, just so we can have
We have
a
this right here.
good idea? And yeah, you do have hard copy printouts of each of these documents in front of you.
But if someone has like an FR1 property that's not being changed in the zoning resolution, then they would have to come and get it. The existing regulations apply, right?
So the existing regulations apply until the new zoning code would go into effect. Because C2 and FR1 districts are straight districts, we as the township can change those rules at any time.
Oh,
And that's
okay.
different from the planned districts that are the majority of the parcels in Orange Township. Those are essentially set in stone at the time that they are rezoned.
Oh, okay.
These, you all can vote to change the setbacks or any standard in FR1 and C2 because they are straight zoning districts.
And then the new, I think, just reiterating what you said, then the new setbacks or whatever the regulations are would apply
Correct.
without having to come to us or to staff and go
Correct.
through the process.
Correct.
Okay. And if we're comfortable with the new setbacks and stuff, then we should be comfortable with the existing FR1 properties utilizing the new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
important. That's important. Yeah, I hadn't really thought of that or known that. Okay.
Okay.
Makes sense. I'm glad you asked.
All right, so you can see this parcel map of Orange Township, which Eric very helpfully put together. So the parcels that are shaded in gray are the FR1 parcels. Those are the farm residential. Obviously, and they aren't broken down. You have some property lines in there. They're a little hard to see on that map. They tend to be larger parcels. Farm residential, again, and we'll get into lot size a little later, but the minimum lot size currently is 1.98 acres, and then the proposed would be 1 acre. The C2 parcels are kind of hard to see because they are shaded in red. There's not that many of them. So Eric is zooming in now. So there's 2 parcels along Lewis Center Road that are zoned C2, and then there's a handful of parcels along 23 right there around Orangewick that are zoned C2, and then 2 very strange areas along 23 that are zoned C2. One is a utility outhouse building, and the other is part of the Life Point Church parcel.
And so you said the white or the gray are the FR1?
Correct.
And so if somebody had like a 10-acre parcel, they could subdivide it into 1-acre parcels?
Correct.
It would remain FR1?
Correct.
And what was the reason to suggest the reduction again?
So it's interesting, and as I did some more research on this, because we've talked about with Lewis Center Village in particular that all of those lots, or most of those lots, are zoned FR1, but they're much smaller than the minimum lot size. And really, as we dove more into this, there are more non-conforming FR1 parcels than I had originally thought. And a lot of those are in older platted subdivisions. Parkway Drive is a good example where a lot of those lots are farm residential. And we kind of found that the average lot size was just under 1 acre. Actually, it was like 0.98 or 0.99. But even if you go to the county auditor's website and you kind of click around some of the FR1 parcels that are along Lewis Center Road or South Old State, I wouldn't say most, but maybe 20-30% of those are smaller than the 1.98 minimum that is current. And so the idea was to bring that down, to bring more properties into conformance and try to make them more usable for the people who live there.
Oh, what do other townships around here have? Do any of them have the one unit or 1 acre for FR1?
Yeah, so Liberty Township does. That is equivalent. Genoa Township also has their FR1 as 1 unit per, or as 1 acre minimum lot size. Genoa has, they have both farm residential and then rural residential. So rural residential is 2 2 acres minimum lot size, and then farm residential is 1.
It is one, okay. And then, so how would that affect, like, an existing, like, a Lewis Center Village lot that are smaller?
So in a way, the minimum lot size itself isn't going to help them in particular, because those lots are way smaller than 1 acre. And it's, you know, it's not going to help them. But there are some lots that are in between 1 and 1.98 acres that, you know, now we've brought those lots into conformance.
But what, so they would not have to adhere to the new minimum setbacks, or?
They would still have to follow setbacks.
But what if they have really small setbacks currently, and the new ones are actually larger? Is it-
I see what you're saying. Like there's one across from, it's just on Orange Road down the street. It's right at the intersection of, up to Gleno and the railroad, the loop.
It's FR1?
By the water tower.
Is it
But
on the
there's a
map?
house that's like, it seems like 5 feet off of Orange Road.
Yeah.
Oh.
But that's an FR1 lot.
Oh, it
I'm
is?
sure- I'm sure,
Yeah.
because
Is
it's not
it?
in a subdivision.
Is it right here? Or,
It's that little one right there. The teeny tiny one.
oh, okay. Yeah, how would that work then?
But that still would be non-conforming if if the setbacks are too small, even from our new one, it's still non-conforming.
Correct.
Okay, so it
So
doesn't
it-
really change anything.
So it changes,
This is I'm
it's a
confused
little
about.
different because the lot, there's a difference between the lot non-conforming, and then there's a difference between a set, or a building that's in a setback that's non-conforming. Those are 2 different issues that are handled differently in the zoning code.
So if I was the owner of that house there, do I have to do anything
No.
different? What if I wanted to knock the house down and build a new house on it? Then I would have to abide by the new setbacks.
Correct.
I couldn't put one in the same spot that the existing house is in.
So it would depend. So there are, and I don't have these memorized because it just doesn't come up very often, but there are certain rules and procedures that for replacement of a non-conforming structure, generally that has to get a conditional use with the Board of Zoning Appeals.
To like say, be in the same spot on the, like the
Correct.
same pad or
Yeah.
whatever? Okay.
Is that doesn't seem to be an advantage for those people then?
No, probably not.
Yeah, and there's a lot of lots like that, and Old Lewis Center is just so different
Yeah.
than, you know, it's got its own situation
But it
down there.
doesn't, if you're not trying to change anything with your property,
Then, no, it
Yeah,
doesn't
but if you
impact
want to change it, if you want to rebuild, and what if their house burned down? And the insurance was going to replace it, exactly the same kind of house?
yeah, so generally that's permitted. I would have to review the text. It may require a conditional use if it was non-conforming.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying it's not too likely, but this is, you know, zoning is permanent until it's changed, so I don't think that's very advantageous to that area, okay.
but that's still making it smaller than, that's it, like it's lowering the lot size.
Correct.
So it makes it, in theory, easier than what they currently would have if we didn't change it?
Correct.
Okay. So
But
it is
because-
making it better for the property owners.
Correct.
But what if
Then
it, what if a
currently
house burned down currently and we didn't change the regulations? If they rebuilt, do they have to adhere
have
to
to
the
get a
new
conditional
FR1s?
use.
So it's-
They would have to get a conditional use.
If we leave this as is?
Correct. If it was non-conforming.
Okay, so it really is no different
Yeah.
for anybody who has a lot that's 1 acre or smaller, that is in
Correct,
farm
yeah.
residential.
Yeah.
It is making it
It's worse
easier
now.
for those people who have, say, like a 1.5 acre lot.
Yeah, correct.
Okay,
Yeah, okay.
Which again, is not a large percentage
Right.
of FR1, but there are some.
okay. All right, next.
Okay, so again, we'll stick with FR1. So we talked about use changes, and Eric, if you can pull up that document. It's difficult to compare in some ways because the new zoning code has so many new categories. And the old zoning code tends to be much more general. So there are some that look like new, even though they are currently permitted. But we did break these down into, new uses in FR1. We ran through all the permitted uses, the lists that were explicitly called out in the old version but not in the new version, uses in the new version but not the old version, and then we did the same for conditional uses
So this is basically pulled from those charts?
from the use table.
Okay.
So it's kind of in Word format
Yeah,
instead
that's cool.
of chart format.
And I went through these tables like, I don't know, probably like 9 or 10 different times have I gone through all of them with each type of property.
And what section is this, 5? What is section 5?
So it's section 7, actually. So the table is
Oh, the table is 5.02,
5.02A
yeah.
in the new zoning code, but the FR1 district is Article 7.
Oh, okay.
And in general, there's things that, have been tweaked that probably could be tweaked more if the board so desires. In general, for FR1, we're not looking to change the underlying nature of these parcels. We're not looking to change FR1 into, commercial or anything else.
So what's an essential communications facility?
It's a cell tower, essentially.
And then
Partially.
home-based business, that's different than a home occupation?
Yeah, so the new code refers to these as home-based businesses rather than home occupation. Actually, it was in my most recent review of the document, we do need, the terms are both used, so we need to clean it up and make it consistent. So we would handle home occupations or home-based businesses a little bit differently in the draft code. So currently, for any type of home-based business, you have to get a conditional use from the Board of Zoning Appeals. The new code breaks it into 2 different subcategories. So there's major home-based business and then minor home-based business. A major home-based business is a home-based business that has basically more traffic, foot traffic or pedestrian traffic or vehicular traffic than would normally occur in a single-family home. So if you have, if you're running a barber shop or we had one that was a tattoo parlor, or not a parlor, but, a home-based business
Right, it
for
was tattoo,
tattooing
right.
last year. That would still require conditional use from the Board of Zoning Appeals. There is a different minor category, which is basically saying, I'm having a home-based business, but, I'm not gonna have any customers or employees coming from, to and from the house. So, something like an accountant or a tax broker or, something like that.
Yeah, that was brought about because a guy needed like a federal license to sell
Right.
guns, and then so I suggested that as a category of where it's just basically for paperwork
so we
and
did make that
purposes.
explicit.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And that would just be administrative, that would just be a permit through the zoning department.
Okay.
But for the home occupation, for all home businesses, not all of them they would all still need conditional use permits?
So not if they fall into that minor category.
Okay, except for
They
that
would still
one,
need a
that's right, yeah,
permit,
because
but-
that was but for the other,
They would not need a conditional use. So the major, where they have, traffic, customers, employees, that would still need a conditional use from
So
the
that
Board
would
of
go through
Zoning
the BZA?
Appeals. Yes.
Okay. It's a long list.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And, part of that is our definition section in the new code is greatly expanded from what it is in the current code. So there's just a lot of new
Yes.
categories that the old code just didn't contemplate.
Yeah. And you guys made sure that basically every use is defined
Correct.
in this one.
no private landing fields. Darn. On 1 acre.
Can't land your helicopter?
Well,
I think in Liberty Township, haven't they had some private landing fields?
This was many years ago, but there were requests to have them.
Like for like a little plane?
Yeah.
Helicopter in one case. I think there was a plane in another one.
Wow. That's pretty cool. I'm
I
not
think
cool enough
much
to own a
larger than
plane.
1 acre, though.
Yeah.
are you allowed to land a helicopter on your own property currently? Like just land your own helicopter?
It's not in the code currently.
Yeah,
It's not that I read.
No, it's not, but I've known people that I've seen it actually done. Like they've landed in some area. I don't think it's Orange, but it's around here, yeah. Is that allowed?
It's allowed per zoning.
Okay.
I don't know what FAA guidelines there are on that. but-
Interesting, okay. So, what is permanent supportive housing?
So that one, I'm going to have to defer to the definition. That is one that I believe is in Ohio Revised Code, and so we pulled that definition from there.
Community-based long-term housing and supportive services as appropriate for individuals with disabilities.
Oh, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
Now, public parking garage, why would, they would need to get a conditional use permit though, right? Why would someone want that?
You know, I think it's unlikely, but it's possible. You know, again, just considering FR1 lots tend to be larger, and so it's something that in theory could fit on an FR1 lot.
This was one of the ones, Robin, looking at my notes from our last conversation, my question was why, and could we get rid of it?
What?
The public
Yeah,
parking
actually, I was thinking the same thing.
garage.
I don't,
Didn't seem to me that it would fit in
Yeah.
in that.
And if that's one that we have consensus to remove, that's fine.
yeah, I would
I
remove
agree
that
to
one.
remove that, please, thank you.
I will make a note.
So if it says retail, so there's a lot of conditional use permits. You know my feelings about separating commercial from residential overall. I mean, there's a few pockets of, you know, where it's relatively appropriate, Old Lewis Center, you know, things like that. But if, in just a regular standard planned residential area, the suburban kind of lots, if you have an FR1 near you, and then you request, or if you own FR1 property and you live near it as a resident, they can come in and get a retail store there right next to you, which is basically a commercial use, but they have to go to the BZA.
Correct.
But what, are we defining the specific conditions or parameters on what that would be approved on?
Yes, so there are, and I'm gonna have to look up the specific section, but it's in the Board of Zoning Appeals section of the code. There are specific criteria for how the BZA reviews those.
When you find it, can you let me know the section, please?
Twenty-eight point 11. So the first is that the requested conditional use will be consistent with the objectives of the zoning resolution and the comprehensive plan. The second is that it's in fact established as a conditional use within the zone or district. The third is that the requested conditional use is of such a nature and designed to be constructed, operated, and maintained in such a manner that it will not adversely affect the existing or intended development pattern of the general vicinity. Requested conditional use will not be hazardous or disturbing to existing or future neighboring uses. Requested conditional use will be served adequately by essential public facilities and services. The conditional use will not involve uses, activities, processes, materials, equipment, or conditions of operation that will be detrimental to any person's property or the general welfare. Vehicular approaches shall not adversely affect pedestrian safety. If proposed vehicular approaches to the property of the requested conditional use shall not adversely affect vehicular traffic on surrounding public rights of way. So there's 8 total criteria that the Board of Zoning Appeals would look at.
And this is updated from the old criteria, correct?
This is slightly updated, but it's actually
Kinda the
pretty
same.
close to what we have currently.
So the one that says, it will be consistent with the objectives of the zoning resolution and the comprehensive plan. So if that property is indicated as FR1, not commercial, and someone wants to put a commercial business there, like, that would be, is that objective, or is this a subjective criteria? Because to me, then that would mean no occupation would ever be granted because it's not consistent with the land use plan or the zoning.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. You know, in a sense, all of these criteria are somewhat subjective. You know, and the idea behind a conditional use is that, you know, you're looking at the zoning district as a whole, and, you know, you're thinking about every parcel in Orange Township, and, you know, maybe it makes sense for some FR1 parcels to have an antique store. Maybe it would not make sense for other FR1 parcels to have an antique store. And so that's why, you know, we have it marked as a conditional use that, okay, depending on the location, maybe it could work. The Board of Zoning Appeals will hold a public hearing and make that determination.
Is this the same criteria for single family also?
Yes.
Right,
Yeah,
so
these are, it's
they're
the same
for
conditional
everything,
use
right? Okay,
criteria.
do you see my point? That I just want to make sure that, because if you have, say, just a regular, like in your neighborhood, a regular suburban area or mine, you know, you come in and there's even two neighbors that object to, like, you know, 5 cars a day and stuff going on, whatever, at things that are, you know, maybe disruptive to your peace and quiet or your living. I want to make sure that they're able to turn it down for reasons like that, you know?
Correct, yeah, that's the criteria.
And that would allow them to, correct?
But the tattoo was approved, correct?
Yes.
The tattoo part, but I heard that there were a lot of people that objected to that.
Yes, that was.
But he said there would only be like one client at a time, kind of a thing.
But how many a day? 10, 8,
No,
5?
it
how
was like
many?
one on a Saturday, once a week.
So
Like
just
he-
once a week?
Yeah, he was really very low use, from what I recall.
And was
Yeah.
that put in the conditions that he has to abide by that? That was before we,
I was not at that meeting, so
Yeah.
I don't recall. Eric, do you know
No,
off
I
the top of your
don't.
head?
that was
Remember off the
before
top
we
of my
were,
head.
that was kind of before we realized that the conditions should be put as part of the motion. For a while, they would maybe say it orally, and then maybe it was not
Gotcha.
binding.
I don't think that was one that they put a condition to move, or at least that the business would terminate with the new ownership, because that's already the way that our code was written, so, yeah.
That was the only condition? Okay.
I couldn't remember if that was, I know that was discussed.
Yeah, and so, I mean, and in our current code, we do have, you know, a limitation on number of employees and things like that, so they still have to follow.
But they can get a variance from that, correct?
They could, but they would have to come back and
A second
Apply.
application, or
correct.
they can't grant that at the same time?
Well, so in that instance, they did not apply for that you know, let's say that tomorrow they want to expand and they want to have 10 employees.
Then they get a variance,
Then they would
okay.
have to come back and get a variance.
Yeah, so before we were granting, and this went on for decades until, I think it was the tattoo parlor that started me thinking about it, was you had a bunch of people objecting, and whatever the guy said, you know, and orally was not necessarily binding unless it's made part of the condition.
So we just have to make sure that we're making those part of the condition.
Yeah, and I think they are now, but, the last few, but, I want to make sure that the residents that live nearby, you know, have input into it, and, you know, that it's not just, well, this person wants to have a new business in their house. It'd be different if it was long-standing or something, it'd been there for decades or years, but.
I think like with Robin's example of the antique store and Lewis Center Village, so that's an area that there's a number of homes that are right along Lewis Center Road that maybe they wanted to turn one of those into, not necessarily a couple of streets back, but like right up front there into a
Yeah, that would
business
make
like that,
sense
it would
in
make
that
sense,
area.
so.
There's commercial
Yeah.
in that, that's a whole
Correct.
different eclectic
Yes.
area,
Yeah.
but, like, as far as, you know, living near it, and that just, the whole thing, I know we've had it in place for a while, but, you know, I hate to see people that should be in a commercial area, or they should be in a commercial area, but they're in residential, you know, being disruptive to the neighbors, that's my only concern.
Okay, keep going.
All right, I'll just open it up to you, or is there any other, you know, uses that we want to discuss in, you know, FR1, or we can move to C2, whatever is easiest for you.
What is transitional dwelling? A lot of stuff in there. Personal service.
Okay, housing and supportive services provided to homeless individuals and families for no longer than 24 months to enable them to obtain and maintain independent and permanent housing. So that's one that's definitely a conditional use, like it's not a given. They have to come
Yeah.
and have the conversation with the
And
public.
the neighbors would have to have input, okay,
Yes,
and
definitely.
offices,
Yep.
And, but on the FR1, will they still have the same rights that are given by law where they can have farmers markets and things?
Correct. So, we have some updated language in the draft zoning code about agriculture, but the state laws on agriculture and zoning trump anything that we can do. So those state statutes have not changed.
So they could so they could do all of that on a smaller lot though now? But I guess they could do that in other townships, but,
So it depends. Agriculture and zoning, if it is a lot of over 5 acres, then township zoning has essentially no say. We can't enforce anything. If it's between 1 acre and 5 acre, we can enforce it if it's within a platted subdivision. If it's under 1 acre, then we can enforce it anywhere. And so if those rules
Okay.
don't apply, then that's when our rules kick in.
okay. Is that Ohio law then, that you're able to
Correct,
do that?
yes.
Okay, that's good.
So if
That-
it's a
that's some safeguards.
3-acre lot, what applies?
Generally, they're going to be permitted unless they're in a platted subdivision.
Okay. So like where the Parkway loop is, that's a platted subdivision.
Correct.
So they would have to follow the FR1
Correct.
zoning.
Yeah, and specifically, they would have to, so we do have an agriculture subsection in section 5.03, and they would have to follow those regulations.
Okay.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
So no more dog kennels allowed? What's a
Uh,
cattery?
Yeah, so, again, we're taking the stance that a dog kennel is essentially an agricultural use.
Okay.
And so those agricultural rules would apply, unless it's under 1 acre, in which case our rules kick in.
Okay, that makes more sense
So they
now.
can still do it
If
if it's
it's,
between,
if it's between
more than 1 acre.
More than one, or more than 5, or,
It depends
it's
on where
platted
it's, it depends
subdivision,
on where
okay,
it's
how-
located.
assuming it's not a platted subdivision.
Yes,
More than 1 acre,
yeah.
then,
okay, so that seems not too destructive then.
correct, yeah.
No, okay, all right, borrow pits, and, wait, are we still in, conditional accessory dwelling unit? Is that like what is that, like a,
That's your like mother-in-law little
Correct.
cabin.
okay,
So they would still, is that a conditional
It's
use?
a
or they-
conditional
So they
use.
just have to come and ask, okay.
Yes.
and then under the permitted uses, I guess we just went through that, right? Did we go through the permitted uses? Let's see here, so these permitted uses would just be automatically permitted, right?
Correct.
Like library and park and all that,
Yeah.
okay. Schools. Okay, I think I'm good, I think with that.
Anything else with FR1?
Not for me.
Cemetery, so cemetery is a permitted use then, so they, and what was the purpose of that?
I don't know that we had any specific reasoning behind it. I mean, again, just FR1 parcels tend to be larger. They would have the space for it. They tend to be more rural. I believe the Catholic cemetery off of 23 is zoned FR1.
So currently you can't have a cemetery anywhere? Like, is that grandfathered in, the 2 cemeteries that we have, or
yeah,
3, or 4,
Correct.
5?
Yeah, I think all the cemeteries in the township currently are zoned FR1.
Okay,
But I think they predate, the zoning regulations.
but currently cemeteries are not permitted there, so those are all grandfathered
Correct.
uses, right? Oh, okay, so now you're gonna actually, so they'll be in conformance now, I guess,
Correct.
even though they're non-conforming at this time. Okay, that makes sense. All right, I'm good.
C2?
All right, so C2, again, this is something that, it's an existing straight district. There's not many parcels that are zoned C2. So really, I mean, I forget the exact number, but we're talking like 6 to 8 parcels in the township. It's a commercial district. The idea behind C2 is that it's supposed to be more of a neighborhood type commercial, so, you know, very light, low impact commercial. So a lot of the new permitted uses was me taking the new definitions that we have for uses in the new code and, you know, applying the spirit of those to what our current code says. So again, not trying to change the nature, but the actual uses themselves may look a little different in terms of the text. That something like a deli is a specific category in the new zoning code, but under the old zoning code, it was not. It was just in more of a general category. And in terms of like the setbacks and the development standards, those are all the same.
Same, nothing changed there. So this section really didn't change.
The goal was to make it almost exactly line up
Okay.
with what it is today. You know, I can't say that literally nothing changed in terms of the uses just because of how they're defined, but that was, the goal was to keep it as close as possible.
Okay. And this is one that when I went through everything with Robin, I asked, like, why is this? Why is this? And that's what he just kept answering. It's exactly the same. We're not changing that.
So the veterinary offices limited to small animals, so now, is it just veterinary offices?
Correct.
Yeah, what is a small animal? I mean, how is that
It's a
even
dog and a
defined?
cat. It's not a horse.
What about a goat?
Oh, I don't know.
See, was that ever defined?
I don't think so.
Okay, so it's good, it's
Right?
being removed, okay.
Also wonder about Great Dane.
Yeah, I know, I was
Right?
thinking, a giant
It's like
lab.
the same size as a mini pony.
That was a good one to take out then. So this is pretty much just, okay, so, but you can have a drive-through.
So you would be able to have a drive-through that's part of a business that has a sit-in component. You would not be able to have a
Standalone?
standalone drive-through.
Okay.
Okay,
Oh,
so a
good.
Starbucks with a drive-through is okay, but the Big B's Coffee drive-through alone is not okay.
Correct. There are some Starbucks that don't have sit-in components.
Oh, right, so that one's not okay.
Yeah, but if it's a Taco Bell or something that has
Sit in
a
and,
sit-in component, then they would be allowed to.
okay.
And so now they can conduct activities outside of the building. Before they could not, didn't know that.
Where'd you see that?
I don't think I've ever even seen a C2 zoning though, ever.
And you've been here since 1998.
Since
so-
1998.
I know.
October of 1998.
Yeah, I don't know when the current C2 parcel is rezoned to C2, but it has not been any time recently.
been a-
Yeah, I don't think I even knew it existed. So this shouldn't have, this might open up some of those parcels, and those are just the red ones?
Correct.
That's it, okay. So it might open those parcels up to slightly different use that wouldn't be too much different than is currently allowed,
Correct.
okay. So C2 is more like a neighborhood type of
Correct.
commercial, right? Because we don't have neighborhood commercial, do we?
I mean, we have C2 in the current code.
That's called neighborhood
Yeah.
commercial, okay. And some codes call it specifically
The
neighborhood
only
commercial.
place to me that feels like neighborhood commercial is in the village where like
Yep.
Wits and the
Yep.
Woodgate store are. That's a little chunk.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with that, C2.
Okay, what was next on your list?
Let me get back to it. So we talked about places of worship last
Oh,
time,
yeah.
particularly in FR1. And it is, I mean, it's a tricky subject. We did do some research onto, you know, where existing places of worship are in Orange Township. And we found, I think it was about 15 or so, and almost all of them are in FR1.
What's this PL?
That's plain industrial.
PI. Interesting.
And so, you know, after discussing with legal counsel, we don't recommend taking places of worship out of FR1 because you're creating a bunch of additional nonconformities. So currently in the draft zoning code, we have places of worship as permitted in FR1. In our current code, it is a conditional use. So I think we could certainly go back to having it be a conditional use in the draft code.
Yeah, I think we need a conditional use permit. But that means that they can have a minimum of 1 acre now, right?
In FR1, yes. Yeah.
I don't know about
And they
that.
have to follow other development standards. They have to follow
They'd
all
have
the
the
other
setbacks and parking and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, so it really doesn't make it actually possible to have a place of worship on
On
a
1
1 acre
acre.
lot.
Really?
Unless an itty bitty little,
Yeah, it would, I
Church,
mean, it would
which would
depend.
be-
I mean, and
Okay, I guess,
so we still have,
right.
we still have the provision that all non-residential uses have to be located at least 100 feet from any residential lot
Residential.
line.
oh, okay.
Okay,
So-
And that applies to places of worship?
Correct.
Okay.
It's a non-residential use. So
See-
if it was an FR1 parcel that was, 1.2 acres, they could maybe have it, but they would still have to meet that 100-foot setback to any other residential property,
Okay.
which would probably make it difficult.
so if there was like an existing house on the property and they wanted to change it to a very small church, possibly,
Possibly.
they could do that and start out, because there's a lot of
Like
mega
small-
churches around here that would
Yeah.
never fit on there. Okay, that might be fine then.
Yeah. Okay. All right, cool, so we're keeping churches in FR1.
All right, and just so I'm clear, I think the general consensus is to have that as a conditional use, not a
Yes.
permitted
Yeah,
use.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we had discussed before, though, that during the conditional use permit process, that there's no way to regulate any of the appearance of the church or the materials or anything. Did we check on that? Yeah, if, that was a concern that, yeah, you want to prevent large churches going to residential areas, but there were concerns about how someone can come in, they can't get a conditional use permit, but during that process, the BZA has no control over any type of architectural standards or height or anything.
So, I'll have to do more research on that. What could be triggered with that is whether it would trigger the non-residential design standards that we have proposed in Article 21.
Yeah, can we check, because there were some concerns about,
Would they be required to meet those non-residential
I don't think you,
design
I'm
standards?
looking, and no, they would not.
wait, they would not need to?
Correct. And we could change that. We could, figure out ways to make the non-residential design standards apply to places of worship or,
Yeah, I would like.
essentially any business use within FR1.
Is that, because I know I've heard in some places that you can't regulate certain things about churches, like they can have a spire or something, their height can be 60 feet tall or however they want. Is that right?
So it's not a short answer. So the federal law is that you can't treat places of worship differently than any other
Business.
type of use
Right.
in zoning. So I don't know that it's true that, they get a blanket exception to any rule. I'd say in general, like spires, we generally don't count something like that as part of building height. We count it to the roof. But it's, a church still has to follow the setbacks.
And
of
the
any
building
zone.
height?
And the building height, yeah.
Okay.
But someone could have, I've heard of this in another township where there's a really tall, like, spire, so they could have a huge spire and it's not regulated, and it could be a certain width, it could be huge, the way it's written.
And again, it would depend on the case. I mean, in general, I think in our current zoning code, spires, antennas, kind of those building appurtenances are exempt from building height. That's not something that is specific to churches.
Can we look into maybe possibly regulating that to a reasonable height? Because it has been a legitimate issue in other townships.
Yeah, we can look into
Because,
it.
you could build like a 60-foot tall structure and call it a spire and color it multiple colors and make it kind of disruptive to the area.
We can ask.
Yeah, I can ask. Yeah, I like the idea of the other standards. So the standards that would apply would include like, but not colors or the general standards?
Yeah, generally, the
don't
new
do
zoning code
colors.
does not have regulations on colors, but would have regulations on, some architectural features and then building materials.
I think it would be good if all of the buildings were under those design standards.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, doesn't matter if it's
Oh, yeah,
a
all
store or a
buildings.
church or a.
Well, but normally they would
business
go
office.
through rezoning, right? And then, like, what are the architectural standards? Do they apply in this new code? They apply to everything? It's not as
So-
committed to?
So the way we have it written, and I'm in section 21.05 if you have your hard copies. So the street-facing facade design standards apply to any new construction of a mixed-use, commercial, or other non-residential development within the districts and zones specified. We did not have FR1 specified. We might just want to make that applicable to all
Yeah.
districts and zones because it does have the carve-out for non-residential. But it's basically saying that any new construction of those types of buildings has to have 3 design features per every 100 lineal feet of street-facing facade. And those are, I did a lot of research thanks to the help of our zoning chair, Christine Trabellis, who
Right,
is an
yeah.
architect. I am not an architect, so I learned a lot about architectural features that, these buildings would have to have, multiple of these features to, make it not just a pole barn or, some kind of industrial-looking building to make it attractive. And then. they
Does that
also
fall
have-
into line with pretty much what we've currently allowed?
Yeah, so.
It's
these are
hard to
not
define.
Radically different from, and again, we have so many different planned districts in Orange Township. A lot of them, especially the newer commercial industrial districts, do have, these types of requirements, but not all of them do. Some of the older ones do not. So this is just kind of pulling from those and making it consistent across all districts.
So it's 3 every 100 feet, and it has to be a certain size?
No, not necessarily.
Because a lot of times with the commercial building, they'll present it and there'll be some kind of like split, what's it called, split block or some kind of special feature. So if you're allowed to do it 3 every 100 feet,
So it's a minimum of 3 per
Yeah.
100 lineal feet.
so if someone did present that, they could come in and say, well, this is what we're gonna do. But the zoning commission, can they still request more?
They could request more. I don't know that they can force more because that's what's in our code.
But they can't force more currently, because it's not
Correct.
in the
Yeah, it's
code,
not
right?
current.
Yeah.
Now we don't
Yeah.
ask for anything.
Yeah, right, yeah. As long as, I mean, it's hard for me to determine if that is what we want. Did she think it was? I mean, I don't even know what that language means, honestly.
Yeah, I had to use an architectural dictionary. But yes, I mean, again, I'm a layperson. I'm not an architect, but it seemed to me that, these are not crazy architectural features. But, if you went to a nice looking building, you would find examples of these, and they were not too burdensome, but also enhanced the.
Do like City of Dublin, now they're pretty extreme, but did anyone look at those types of things, like a more upscale
I
area?
didn't look at that code specifically because they have so many sub-districts, that it would depend on the district in question, but we could probably, find some examples of other municipalities that have similar requirements.
Yeah, could we do that? Because I don't even know what that looks like. I mean, do you know what that looks like?
So I think, Eric, if you scroll down, you can see the examples, but no, I mean, you have to like go to Google and see, what is a cornice? What is a modillion?
Yeah, but
What
if
is
it's 3 every 100 feet,
Correct.
like, I don't know what that looks like. Like 3 of what, every 100 feet?
Well,
What
like a
does that
green
look
roof
like?
is just the whole roof, it's green, it's like a,
Yeah.
like LED,
Yeah.
lead,
But what
design.
does it look like? Like, I would like to see an example, because, like.
Oh, you
what
can,
does that
yeah,
actually
I
look
just like Googled them all, yeah.
But I want to see a building with 1 every 300 feet and see what that actually looks
Oh.
like. Like a sample, because I don't know what that looks like.
Maybe just for the next video, you can show us.
Yeah, we can
Yeah,
do some.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, does that make sense? 'Cause
Yeah.
I don't, I can visualize it, but it doesn't really,
If
you
we
know.
keep going, Eric, on the next page, it talks about the vinyl is allowed if it's 0.46 inches thick. Is vinyl currently allowed? So like I know in my subdivision it had to be hardy plank, but that's also like my
Yeah,
subdivision,
so
my
again,
plan
it
district.
it depends on the plan district in question. In some it is, in some it's not, in some it's permitted as an accent material. And this was, we had a pretty lengthy discussion of this, on this at, you know, at the zoning commission
Okay.
level, that, and this was education for me, again, as a non-architect, that the, you know, I think vinyl has a bad reputation from years past, but the quality and the technology of vinyl has improved considerably over the last, you know, X many years, and that vinyl of a certain, you know, consistency and depth and width can be an attractive building material.
And that's that .46 or
Yeah,
higher.
and so that
condition.
was, you know, I landed at that after just doing some Google research
Okay.
and trying to figure out, you know, what is high quality vinyl.
And Christine was okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Millimeters,
Oh, what does it say?
inches.
Oh,
Thanks,
yeah.
Doc.
Yeah, that, when you said that, I was like, oh, it sounds right. No, it's- That's really thick. Tornadoes won't affect that. I think it is .046,
Just maybe
actually.
check.
Yeah.
I will double check.
Okay.
Now, how are we doing public comment then? Are we just going through everything,
Well,
or?
let's go through like the stuff on Robin's to-do list and then we'll
Okay.
see what the people in the public would
Okay.
like to chat about.
All right, and we did, yeah, we got a little off topic, but that's fine. You know,
Sorry.
I want to talk about what you guys are concerned about. So next on my list was lot size comparisons for old and new districts. Again, it's a little hard to compare because for some there are apples to apples and some there are not. We did talk about the FR1, which would, and Eric, if you can, yeah, zoom in a little bit. So FR1, we're proposing to drop from 1.98 acres to 1 acre. We like round numbers. Commercial corridor, which is closest to plan, commercial and office, neither of those have actual minimum lot sizes. It's just per approved. Same with community living, which is equivalent to multifamily. Flex employment would be 10,000 square feet. That's equivalent to planned industrial, which does not currently have a minimum lot size. The C2 does not have a minimum lot size in proposed or current. Mixed use does not. Neighborhood zone, which would be equivalent to single family, technically it's dropping by 125 square feet, but 10,000 instead of 10,125, again, round numbers. Any questions or additional comments on the lot size requirements?
I didn't have any.
Okay, so you threw the non-conforming in there just to show,
Yeah, just
For
as
sample.
examples, you know, kind of,
okay.
again, what some of those FR1 subdivisions are, actually look like.
Okay.
You know, if you're bored, I encourage you to click around on the county auditor's website and just, you know, see if you can find some FR1 parcels that are in between that 1 and 2, because there are a fair amount. All right, and then the other one was density comparisons. I guess we didn't actually do a side-by-side chart, but what we did do was pull approved densities for residential subdivisions and then multifamily as well. For single family, we went back a few more years, and then for multifamily, we did essentially the last 10 years.
So-
Just so you can see those figures.
So I was, this was a, do you want to switch the chart, Eric? Sorry. Looking at this, Lisa, and he gave us a copy of this one. Oh, you're still looking at that one, sorry.
What?
Are you good to move on?
looking at, no, what do you mean
sorry.
what do you mean not commonly used, like?
So those are,
Yeah, so we included those in the chart, but
because
we,
those are in our current code, is that
those are in
right?
our current code, but they're nowhere on the zoning map. There are no properties that have those.
That are zoned, so those
But
are just going
you're
away.
still keeping those in there?
Not in the draft code, they're just on the chart for comparison's sake.
So you're taking those out?
Correct.
All of those, oh, okay, well. Neighborhood office, oh, so C1,
Yeah.
are we still calling C2 C1, or C2, are we gonna change it to C1 then?
I know. So currently, I do need to get some clarification from legal on this, because there are properties zoned that, we want to keep the name the same for the time being.
Okay.
It's, you know, once C1 goes away, which it would if this zoning rewrite is approved, then we could look at changing the name down the line.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, and industrial, yeah, there's no industrial, there's no agricultural preservation areas.
No.
What would that be anyway?
I don't know. I mean, we have an A1 zone. I've never taken a big look at it because we don't have any properties that are zoned A1. Generally, you know, if people are trying to preserve their property for agricultural use, zoning is not the preferred method to do that. Usually that's done through conservation easements.
Yeah, okay, yeah, because that's like if you went through preservation parks or what, you sold the
Soil and
easement
water,
or,
yeah.
okay, so we don't really need that, right? Because they could do, can they do that? Like the McCammon Estates, what is that zone, or McCammon, barn, what is that zone?
FR1,
Okay. Then it's permitted in there, right?
correct.
Okay, so we don't need that. Okay, all right, I'm good.
Okay. So now this one, the single-family dwelling. So the last meeting was a conversation of right now it's 2 dwelling units per acre. I think what's currently in the draft is 3 dwelling units per acre. And so then we asked them last meeting to tell us, like, what are some subdivisions in the community, next page,
Yeah.
that one. And what is there, like, the things that we've approved. I mean, I've been in office for like almost 4 years now, so what have we said yes to, or what has been said yes to in the last couple of years? And then interestingly, I took an OTA zoning training by Jen Huber from Julie's office that came in like July or something like that, and I listened to it yesterday, and she is just it was zoning for trustees and reminding us that, like, this is the law. So the goal is to put something in the law that we actually want to have, so that we don't have people coming and having to ask for variances and divergences all the time. So when I looked at, say, Marigold, and it says 2.98, and when we were approving Marigold, I was like, this is quite a lot, like, it's pretty, I mean, it's clustered, but, you know, we were processing this out loud with you guys, so.
But they also preserved, they agreed.
They did preserve.
Allegedly, they were supposed to
Right.
preserve those trees, but yeah, they gave us something in kind of exchange for that,
Right, so
versus just
I
automatically
didn't
allowing
love
it.
the idea of saying, okay, I had a little bit of a heartburn with 2.98, so let's not make it 3, but like, would I be okay with 2.5 or 2.75? So I think that's where I kind of wanted to hash it out, and maybe we can't hash this out until we have Mike here.
Yeah.
So they're proposing it to be
So
3,
yes, so the neighborhood zone is proposed at a density of 3.
but see, I feel like if you put it as 3, then they're gonna ask for 4.
Exactly, that's
I'd
why,
say
that's
I
why I'm
wanna
saying
stick with
3
the
is.
original.
And I'm okay going above 2, but not, definitely not all the way to 3.
No, but then the higher you make it, I mean, the higher you make it, the more they can, I like the 2, of course, I live in a I don't know how many.
Right.
Mine have unfortunately small lots, but we were like the original subdivision in the
Right.
township, maybe 1/6 of an acre, I don't know. But, which I actually don't like, but, I feel like, let's see, so we have Aurora, now some of these, there's some that are really, wait a minute. Is
I
this
think that's the
part of it?
multifamily, that's a difference.
Oh, okay,
This
all
is
right.
single family.
So, single family, the Aurora Farms, that was the one, is that the,
That's the one that just came back.
Yeah.
yeah, and we had already approved that at a slightly higher density anyway, right? So that one we kind of justified, they were given some active use, some, Epcon,
Initially,
Clear Creek, yeah, when was, and now, so see, we were able to negotiate with Epcon, Clear Creek, they had certain amenities very expensive homes, empty nesters, no school children, things that
Right.
would make it a kind of an exception. So most of these are more towards the 2 units. Marigold was kind of an exception. None of us wanted to grant that lower density, but then we did because they agreed to preserve.
The whole chunk, yeah.
Yeah, so much property there.
And they were also the ones that had dropped a whole bunch from their original application.
Yeah, a ton.
Yeah.
So I was okay with that. And then the
40% or something.
Aldea Marigold. Wait, which one's out? Oh, isn't Aldea Marigold?
Aldea is now called Marigold, right? Are they the same?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Wait,
But did they change because of the,
We just had it on there twice. They came in for an amendment. It
Yeah.
didn't change
Oh,
the
just a different
okay.
name? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I
was
think it
like-
has a different name now, too.
Does it?
Marigold.
Oh, it is still
Marigold
Marigold?
now?
Oh, I thought it
I
was.
guess I saw in the paper that, and that makes
Yeah.
sense what you're referring to. I saw in the paper that it was maybe going to be called something else, but as far as I know, it's still Marigold.
Okay.
Oh, I like Marigold.
Yeah.
Okay, so Orange Cove. Yeah, see, the rest have stayed, what's Azar Village?
That's the one that's right behind Orange High School. Middle school,
They
Orange Middle
haven't-
School.
They haven't built it.
They just started
That one,
demo like a week ago.
court, or it's like 10 houses or
It's like 10
something?
houses on one street behind that
So it's really
middle school
small.
field, yeah.
Evans Farm, 2.46. And Evans was originally, was Evans always 2.46?
I believe so.
I would prefer to stay with the 2. Man, if you give 2.25, it's just gonna get higher.
Let's hash that one out with Mike.
Sure.
Yeah, and I feel like, a lot of times developers come in and they want much higher densities and they say, well, the market doesn't bear this and that. I don't care. I mean, I'm sorry, I feel like we have so many people living here already and so many apartments and so much traffic.
But if the goal is to get them into a straight zoning district where there isn't a negotiation, right? It's they just follow the rules,
Correct.
is there?
Wait, what do you mean? Is there a straight?
Like,
This
is
is, wait,
the
this is
neighbor- This is
straight.
the neighborhood zone, so it's
This is
straight.
neighborhood.
Are there allowed to be divergences with straights?
No.
So the goal is for them to be able to come in without, they still have to come do the whole process, but they're not allowed to say, okay, we're gonna give you a pickleball court, but we want couple more houses.
Yeah, see, that's what. So are there still districts that are planned?
So we have one plan district that instead of, because right now we have it broken down into like single-family plan, multifamily plan, plan commercial, it would just be one plan unit district, and basically you tell us, these are the uses that you want, these are the development standards that you want.
And then we can negotiate.
We still have those, so they could pick either one.
Correct.
But then if you give them, what's the density in those for the
Yeah, do they-
single family?
So.
What's proposed? It's 2 right now, right, for single family?
Correct. So there is no density standard in the plan unit district.
But could we say, you want to do a planned district, and we want you to hold to the neighborhood zone?
Yeah, I think there's a
Okay.
valid way to make that work.
Okay.
But, wait, say that again?
So we could say, they could say, we don't want to do the straight zoning because we can't meet exactly what the straight zoning says. So then they're gonna do a single-family development in this planned district, but that's where we have the opportunity to negotiate.
Yeah, but so they can come in and ask for 10 units an acre?
They can ask.
I do not like that at all. I mean,
We could say no.
yeah, but we can say no, but on what basis?
So there's specific criteria in the plan unit district text that you can evaluate to make that decision. We do highly recommend getting away from, because what we have currently are kind of a hybrid between plan districts and straight districts. We don't like having those criteria in the plan district, because then what happens is, like for example, we have single-family plan residential district now. And so somebody comes in and they say, well, I'm at 2 units per acre, I meet your standards, so you have to approve me.
Right.
But if there's no standards, then they can't make that claim. Then it comes into, what does the comprehensive plan say for this area? Does it advance the general welfare of the township? There are a few more criteria in the plan unit district section.
But because there are architectural standards now, right, that apply?
Yeah,
or
so
not,
the
right,
same
in the
architectural
landscaping?
standards.
That
would
applies to
apply.
everything, no matter what we go under, right?
Yeah, but then if you're reverting to the land use plan, that's how we would like to see it built out, but I don't know if you can say I mean, I like it if someone comes in with 2 units per acre, I'd like that, to have a subdivision like that. I mean, I think I don't think any other township around here doesn't have a minimum for I think it's served us well. I mean, I don't know what we've been doing for this long, in some ways, like different plan developments, they've all turned out really nice. I mean, I can't think of a single problem. I know it's a hassle to keep track of them, but I don't see the reason to just throw all that out. I really don't. I mean, it's worked so well. We have nice development. So now you could come in and someone says, hey, I want 10 units an acre. And then you look at the land use plan, but the land use plan doesn't actually specify the densities for different areas, but that's not in the, but it recommends it though. It recommends it. And I feel like the zoning, I don't know how we could say, I think it's way too subjective. It's taken me back to the conditional use permits for home occupations where it's very subjective versus coming in and saying, well, you don't meet this 2 units an acre, we can deny you.
What's the comp plan say?
It's different for every area.
Yeah, it depends on the area.
Okay.
Yeah, and that, again, like, I don't,
Oh, yeah, because it does say.
yeah, it's enforceable in some ways, but the zoning resolution is actually the law.
Could you?
They could sue us and say, well, you didn't have it in here, and this seems that the area says we'd like to have flowing residential with this and that, and it's so, to me, conceptual in the land use plan with some specificity that an argument can be made, hey, we brought this in, we made a good faith effort, we think we conformed, and then a judge decides.
Can you do some digging on what other communities around?
Sure.
Okay. And I guess I'm not necessarily thinking like Berlin and that, but like Dublin and Westerville, but not like uptown Westerville, like
Yeah.
that kind of
Well,
stuff.
nice there. I don't think Liberty and that is the part of.
New Upper Arlington, not Upper Arlington, New Albany,
Yep.
those kind of places.
Yeah, because I'm sure they have minimum standards. I don't like the idea of having no minimum standards for density. I think it's, I
Well,
don't
we
think
do
it's a
have
good
it, it's
idea.
just in the straight zoning it is.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
straight zone, yeah. But then they can come in and get 3 units an acre, and we have to approve it. But what are we getting for the 3 units per acre that,
Well, now we have the architectural standards and, that kind of stuff, things that
but
we didn't
open
have
space?
before.
Is there a requirement for a certain type of open space, like?
No, it's just general open space. So one other thing with the density too is that, I believe we discussed this at the last meeting, was that we do have the new community authority policy, that anything above 3 units per acre has to join a new community authority and pay extra assessments.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's
But
helpful.
I just don't, and I feel like a lot of these communities, I feel like they all need to have active recreational space for people that, and then they're allowed to access it. And not
Like
just.
pocket parks, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, or even just an area for kids to run around and hang out in, like in it and maintain like grassy, and yeah, the HOA has to maintain it, but there's nowhere for kids to run around and do anything these days, there's in their own communities without that. Yeah, you have some open space in the
Yeah,
area, right?
we
And
do,
the
yeah.
kids use that? At the field, yeah. So they can go out and play soccer or kick the ball around, just
Yeah.
sit and hang out, but
We
like,
have one of our township parks in our community.
yeah.
That's yeah.
Yeah, so somewhere to, just, if they're gonna get 3 units per acre in the straight district, I wanna make sure that there's also some kind of for, residential, there's some kind of requirement for, is there a requirement for open space there? In the what's that called
The
again?
neighborhood zone.
What's it called?
Neighborhood.
Neighborhood, yeah,
Yes, that's 20%.
20, okay, and is it specified how much has to be active or passive?
It does not.
Could we look into maybe putting like 50% has to be active because, or whatever?
50% of the 20%? So like
Yeah,
10%?
Yeah, 10%. Because then what they can do is they can come in, they have some ravines, they have a pond that's a retention pond, and then you have no active space and nowhere for,
Oh, people can play not in the
In the
retention pond,
pond.
but they can play in the ravines and the.
oh, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
in the
but-
woods.
No, they can't.
don't
Well,
get
that's
poison
the 50% of the 20%. They can go and do that. But then a place where they can go and actually, hang out and play and do whatever they need. Now that we have the smaller yards, there's a lot of kids just roving around with nowhere to go, I've noticed. Nothing to do but ride e-bikes in packs. But I just want to make sure if we would grant that straight zoning district, what's in it for us? You know, active space, maybe some other enhancements, maybe they'll be required to have, you know, some kind of tree in the yard or something, because I know that some of these have been kind of close to the 3, but I don't, what's the benefit to the township to having that straight zoning with 3 units per acre? What's the benefit to a residence?
I mean, the benefit to a resident is that there are more residents and you have more neighbors.
And then remember, at the last meeting, I don't think anyone's ever requested higher density, you know, ever, except for Mark that got up, and then he wanted the, you know, affordable housing, but that's not gonna happen, unfortunately, in Orange Township. So the residents don't want higher density.
Sure. But to play devil's advocate, Orange Township is a great place to live. People want to live here.
People do come.
Right, which is why we can have lower density and still, people can still sell their properties, you know.
And there really aren't, let's be clear, there's not a ton of, I mean, we have I was looking at the gray.
We have a lot,
We have
yeah.
a fair, we have a decent amount of FR lot property that has not yet been,
Yeah,
you know,
not a
bought by a
lot.
developer, but
Yeah, we're mostly
stay with your
developed.
property, yeah.
But, I mean, that's, I can't
Is it
believe
applicable, I
how
guess?
many emails I've been getting lately about people who don't want more apartments, you know, they don't want higher density, that they have enough neighbors and they're tired of the traffic. And I mean, lots of emails and comments lately.
Yeah.
But,
Okay, so you're gonna look into some sort of active passive of the.
yeah, and some
open
kind of
space.
other enhancement that, something that if we were to grant the straight zoning, something that would enhance the community. I can't think of what the active, maybe some kind of other enhancement, like mounding or something to help buffer it. If you could think of some enhanced, because if we're just gonna have to grant that, I want.
Well, the buffering, we have a whole section on buffering now,
Yeah,
right? That's
but is
pretty
it-
specific.
Yeah, it's specific, but it might need to be enhanced for this, I don't know. It's hard for me to tell what all that means without seeing it. Like, I know what has been approved and what it looks like, but, you know, if you look at any, it's very hard to visualize what, like, if this is the floor stored,
Right, yeah.
whatever that is, for decor more. I mean, how many architectural enhancements does this have? Is it one
right, yeah, I
feature? Is it one, you know, is it like one feature every 100 feet? I mean, I don't even know. So the same thing goes for residential for putting these different requirements. I don't know, I can't tell what that looks like. What does something look like that has these various criteria? All right, thanks.
Okay, we'll come back to that one. Okay, multifamily?
Yes, this was a smaller list, did not go as far back in time. Again, the community living zone, which would be the new multifamily zone, that density is proposed at 80 units per acre. Eric, can you flip over to the?
And right now, it says 4, which is really not multifamily.
Correct.
Right, okay.
So, let me see here. Slate Ridge.
Slate Ridge isn't built yet, right?
Slate Ridge is, it's south of Home Road.
Is that the Orange Grand?
Or the, yeah.
Or wait.
So it's south of Orange Road?
Yes,
Is
yeah.
it,
No, that's separate from Orange Grand, sorry.
wait, but,
You're talking about the
Orange
one
Grand
just
is-
north of home.
Orange Grand is north side of Home.
oh,
Slate Ridge is south of Home.
The apartments that are also owned by
Shotton.
Schottenstein. Really?
by who?
Schottenstein.
Wait, so what is Slate Ridge? That is,
It's the Slate Ridge multifamily, which is
Okay.
it's south of Home.
which one is the north, but that has not been developed yet?
Yes, it is.
It is?
Yep.
Oh,
Eric and I have driven through it.
is it apartments?
Yes.
What's it called? Is it called Slate Ridge?
Slate Ridge multifamily.
It is? Okay,
I
gosh.
thought it was called Orange Grand.
Yeah, I thought-
What's-
Yeah,
what's the
I think
new-
they're both called Orange Grand.
Okay. Then what's the
It's
new
confusing.
Schottenstein, the newest one? That's in our TIF, that, at Shanahan in 23? Orange
Summit?
Summit?
Orange Summit, yes.
Wait, so it is Orange Grand? Slate, it's part of the Slate Ridge development, but it's called
Yeah,
Orange
Orange
Grand.
Grand.
Yeah, I was like, I drove through there the other and looked at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't see a Slate Ridge, okay,
Okay.
good. Now, that was an anomaly. I was forced into approving this back then because we had the TIF and they promised that the railroad overpass would be built by 2021, which I said that was never gonna happen, it still hasn't been built. The last time I will ever do that, but So we're supposed to get, like, there's some TIF money and the developer was doing this and that, even though he's kind of getting repaid for some of it. But the benefit allegedly of that development was that we were gonna get the overpass there and the Lewis Center bypass. So that's the only reason that
Approved it that high.
agreed to do that one that high. I would never probably do that again. But eventually we'll get the overpass. It's supposed to be built in the next, 100 years.
But even these even the multifamily rules, you still can't be over 35 feet tall, right? So they can only be so dense.
They can't be over what?
35 feet tall, it's the normal height, it's 3
Yeah.
stories, there's no 5-story buildings.
And what's the Orange Grand Estates?
So it's Orange Grand, that's the portion north of Home Road.
That opened more recently, within the last 2
So that's
years.
half the density?
Correct.
Or was what it was approved at?
That was what it was approved at.
Okay, so that's half okay. So, and then Chesapeake Village, that was done when I was out also. What is Orange
That's
Summit?
the one by Home Depot, is that right? Cheswick?
Yep.
Okay.
What about Orange Summit Communities?
That's the one with the TIF, that's the Shanahan 23.
Oh, and I was
Am I-
also out of office for that. Well, that was in the
The chunk of
corridor
time.
plan.
Yeah,
So those two are anomalies. Hidden Ravines Crossing.
that's the one
Yeah.
at BJ's, but it's not built. It's like next to,
So that was zoning 21-07, but didn't we
did get
approve
Yeah,
it
that was like the first thing that I did
in
with
21?
BJ's, in 22. Like it
Oh, they applied in
finished up
21.
in
Okay, yeah, and I voted no on that one.
22, yes.
Orange Grand Estates. So, Evans Farm. And
Well,
then,
because those are 5-story buildings,
oh geez, 10 units.
Well, I think
or maybe
they're
4.
four-story.
3,
They are 50 feet.
right, okay.
Okay.
All right, yeah, so 10 I think is definitely too much, and so the proposal is 8. Michelle reminded me that Vision was asked, the property that we said no to, they were asking for like 14, so that's like a hard pass.
And it's currently 4.
Correct.
So what's the benefit to, we're suggesting 8, so why is that?
It's to meet the market and to, reflect what's built already. Again, this goes back 10 years and only one was approved at under 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't approve Evans Farm either.
And this is again a conversation we have to have with Mike.
Yep.
We need to
Yeah,
work through
so
this
every
here for this one.
single, so Orange Summit, yeah,
But
I don't
as we
know.
know,
Well, maybe
there's a lack of
6.
housing here in central Ohio. There's a lot of businesses that are coming, so these are things that we know that apartments they do bring a lot of children, but if it was single family versus apartments, we know that it is a lower percentage of children that typically come from, 100 apartments versus 30 homes. That's all, these are things that we are all aware of at this time.
Yeah, but we're not obligated to provide additional housing. Other communities.
We have a lot of housing.
We have a lot of housing. I think we have more than our fair share, and I think other communities can, if they want to go to Oxford or something and get super high densities.
So say the FR properties that are around 71 and
else
like Bale
is there?
Canyon and all that, say those decided to turn into, the families were done using them as multifamily, or as FR lots and wanted to sell them. Could they sell those to a developer and put multifamily there?
They would have to rezone.
But is that in the land use plan? Does that show? Are there any areas, where are the areas that multifamily could go? Do we have a map of that?
It would be in the comprehensive land use plan, I don't know off the top of my
Could you get a
head.
map to show us where?
Yeah,
For
Yeah,
next
add that
time?
to the list,
Yeah,
yeah.
get a map so
in
we
the
know.
In the comp plan, are there areas that are like okay for multifamily?
Not that I recall seeing.
Okay.
Yeah, so if they aren't.
So if they're not in there, then
Then why do we change it? Yeah, if they're not even in there. Well, get the map and then we'll maybe check that one out.
okay.
And there's lots of high-density apartments at Polaris too, people can go to.
Okay. What else was on your list?
I believe next was public comment.
Oh, public comment. Does anybody have any public comment? Please state your name and address for the record.
Is the microphone on, Robin?
It is on.
Great.
Hello. John Wicks, 2973 East Orange Road. I had a bunch of notes jotted down here, but since it's going pretty late, I was just going to jump in for a couple of thoughts for your consideration. You know, cost right now is the single biggest reason why housing prices have gone so high. Land prices around here have doubled and even tripled in some cases over the last 15 years. Building materials have escalated exponentially, and construction labor costs have doubled. So those three reasons alone have challenged anybody to try to put any kind of affordable housing out there. And of course, affordable housing is defined differently in different areas. You know, there's no such thing as a starter home in Orange Township or anywhere in southern Delaware County. That just doesn't exist. But for me, as a developer, you know, my target would be for that second or even third time home purchaser. There are a lot of people out there who, you know, bought homes in Columbus schools or something like that, started having children, they've got good jobs, good paying jobs. Their children are getting to that school age now, and they would like the opportunity to raise their kids in Olentangy schools or other school districts that are nice. The biggest, cost being the biggest challenge to providing new homes for those people is, I'll give you an example, just a simple example. If you zone a 10-acre property at 2 units to the acre, or you zone it at 3 units to the acre, the cost of that development is about the same. You're building the same road, you're building the same infrastructure, you're just gonna have 20 lots to spread the cost over versus 30 lots. By doing that, that's 50% increase in cost, right? So you've just now wiped out a large segment of buyers that are just incapable of being able to afford something like that. So I know that this 3 units to the acre feels high compared to what the code is now at 2. But done properly and responsibly, you know, you're going to open up the market to a group of folks who we really should welcome into our area. We're an aging population, and, you know, younger people with younger kids, they're struggling to be able to afford to move into Orange Township. And, you know, I've enjoyed raising my kids here. I think you all have, and still are, some of you. You know, I feel like limiting the density just for the sake of limiting density is doing a disservice to not only, you know, the current residents, but more importantly, the future residents or potential future residents of Orange Township. You know, it feels 3 units per acre is not high density anywhere except for Orange Township and Liberty Township and Genoa Township. It just isn't. It's considered low density housing in Columbus. Up to 4 units to the acre is low density housing.
We don't like Columbus.
Well, I'm not saying we want to be Columbus, but I'm saying by definition, it's not high density and by any stretch of the imagination. It just allows us to provide a more affordable home, new home, on a small subdivision that, you know, again, the cost to develop it's going to be exactly the same whether you do 20 or you do 30. So we're eliminating, we're not providing certain housing types for what I call a newer resident of Orange Township, those folks who really want to be up here in Olentangy schools. So, you know, it's not about greedy developers trying to get rich. I know it sounds like that, and I've heard that, you know, more times than I can count, but we're trying to provide housing stock for a greater population, more than people that can only afford $700,000 or $800,000 and up, because that's what you're looking at right now. I mean, you know that. We're building the condos on Old State. We're going to be probably the lowest priced units in Orange Township right now, and you know we're not going to be able to be any lower than $550,000. So why can't we try to provide single family houses, detached product for that demographic at that same price point? You can't if you do 20 lots on 10 acres, but you can if you do 30 lots. So that's all I wanted to say. I wanted to just give you a different perspective.
That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
But then, you know, sometimes then there's no guarantee the house prices are actually going to be less if you get higher density, because the prices, the market commands very high prices. So it's not like if you develop twice the number or, you know, 50% more, say 50% more units, it's not like the price drops by that amount. So, you know, that's what's hard about it.
It depends on who the developer is. You're
can't get them
certainly
to
not going
commit
to
to
take a
that.
loss on the development. So you're going to know what your costs are. Your costs go up 50% if you reduce your density by 50%. That's easy math. you know, and then,
But how does that correlate to sales price, you know,
I mean,
like,
they still have to pay for the house, so the
Yeah,
cost of
yeah.
the house,
Yeah,
whether it's
in
2 units or
general-
3 is the same.
in general, the developed lot cost is 20% or 1/5 of the cost of a new home. So if you add 50% to that cost, and then you multiply that by 5, that's the new value of the home you're trying to sell there. So if you're starting with a lower cost or lower price point, you're able to offer a more affordable home.
but remember too, if someone has a property and you say, look, we're not gonna grant more than 2 units per acre, they won't be able to sell that at the price that they want if they're not allowed to get a higher density, so.
You're right.
You know,
That's
so if
exactly right.
if we hold true to the zoning and say we're only gonna allow 2 acres, then they'll have to lower the price, because no one's gonna buy it if they can't get 3. I mean,
Well,
it's
that-
kind of the market, what the market will bear.
Sure, and in my mind, that infringes a little bit on, you know, the seller's rights to make as much money as they can on their property.
Under the current zoning, yeah.
Yeah.
And the
you
zoning
know,
to purchase it under,
There's a
you
lot of
know.
ways that, you know, that you can argue it both ways.
But also there, it increases the number of kids, school kids. That is the biggest problem is you come up here and everyone went to Olentangy schools, and then we get such high density that everyone ends up paying for it. There's more levies on the ballot. That is the biggest complaint. I think I'm more inclined to approve like empty nester style housing at a higher density, because it doesn't bring the kids and it brings very good tax money to the township and few services. So I'm inclined for that, like, that's why the Epcon at Clear Creek and the other Epcon and the one at Evans Farm brings a lot of benefit to the township, but more single family at a higher density, it just brings more
But
expenses
you're-
to everybody.
But you're eliminating the opportunity for young families to move into the township unless they find an existing house that's being sold.
But that's because I serve the current residents, you know, I don't serve the future residents. And
Well,
so
I
the current
understand
ones
that.
are complaining. I'm just giving you
And
my
you
perspective.
only hear the negatives from people. There are people out there that support
Well, our
responsible
house,
growth,
it's
but they're
gone
not
up
gonna
so
speak up about
much.
it. I'm sorry?
But it's gone up so much, our school bills, so the school levies have gone up so much, so
Oh,
a lot of
I'm
people
aware.
are struggling, you know, and then
I
we
don't have
haven't,
kids in the schools and I
Yeah,
still pay.
you still pay.
you still live here, right?
Yeah, so, but by keeping a density requirement at 2 units the acre and enforcing that, you're not allowing somebody the opportunity to come in without asking for a variance to, you know, to be able to provide less expensive housing, I guess is.
If there's a guarantee that the housing would be less, like, hey, normally it's 600, but these are gonna be 400, that maybe would make a difference, but.
There's no way to guarantee that.
There's no way to guarantee that, you see, so that's the hard part. There's no way, it's to whatever the market will bear.
Right, but again, 2 units the acre is pretty low density, and 3 units the acre is still considered low density in most areas. You'll find if you go to the Dublin code, you'll be surprised at how high their low densities are. So that brings me to just one more point, I just thought of this, but your standard district, Robin, I believe you said is 10,000 square feet minimum lots?
Correct.
So, but a lot of the plans that you've approved over the last 5 years have been substantially less than that. I've seen lots at 6,000 square feet, 7,250. Like, why not make your standard district smaller lots that you've already been approving so they don't have to go through the PUD process or ask for variances? And you said a standard district, you can't request variances anyway.
Correct.
So you're really kind of pushing everybody into that PUD process anyway. Like, where did that number come from?
So, I mean, part of it was doing basic math and trying to keep it around that 3 units per acre. So, you know, if you have 10 if you have 10 acres,
Yeah.
then, you know, 20% is open space, so now you're down to 8. You have maybe an acre for roads. So you're left with 7 acres, and then, you know, 10,000 square feet per lot. You know, if there's no density requirement, then you can get, you know, 4 times 7 is 28, and ends up being about the same.
But
So-
why not reduce the sizes down to what people are really building right now, and just the density doesn't go up? You can still do your 3 units a acre, whatever number you settle on, but then you have more open space, and that's a guaranteed trade-off.
Like cluster housing.
Yeah, it's a
And that might
guaranteed
be
trade-off,
something.
because you're not gonna grant more density.
Yeah, actually, that might be something to look into, because you would still have, if people want the smaller lots closer to each other, but in exchange for more open space, that might be doable. Yeah, I like that.
And you got a minimum lot width of 55 feet, so I don't know what that puts as the depth, but a 10,000 square foot at 55 feet would be over 200 feet about 180 feet deep probably, I guess.
Now, the open space would still be maintained by the HOA, and that is an additional expense, versus the individual property owners.
Oh, sure, yeah, yeah, and putting in like a tot lot or something like that, I like those ideas in any kind of PUD and even a standard district, but
Yes.
I feel like, if you're gonna allow a 55-foot lot, why not go with a standard depth of 120? And then you leave room for buffering behind the lots, for example, or larger pocket parks or those kinds of things. It's worth considering anyhow.
Yeah, I like that, and that's a kind of a compromise between the larger lots that I guess some people don't like versus just too many houses in one general area. As long as it looked nice and not too, sometimes the lots can be way too close together, even if they are clustered, as long as it could be done in a tasteful way where it doesn't just look like row houses stuck too close, whatever that number
Do we have
would
our
be.
minimum lot depth? Do you remember what that is?
There's no depth listed as a minimum.
I
It's
don't
just-
think we do.
Oh,
We have the
Should we
lot
maybe
size
do that,
we
or?
have.
Okay.
So,
Size,
yeah, so
okay.
I guess in my opinion, if you did 55-foot minimum lot by 120, like there's 60-foot by 120 lots all over the place. And that would be, in a new development I'm considering, that would be kind of what I'm looking at as my standard. But then you get into that side yard setback again, and I'm sorry, I keep saying I'm done, but then, like, a lot of the newer developments have been approved with 7.5 yard side yard setbacks, but this standard district says 10-foot.
Right, because we don't like the 7.5.
Yeah, I don't really
But
like the
for
10.
what is
but-
the reason behind that? Because the fire department doesn't have an opinion, doesn't have a negative opinion on it.
It's just more space.
Is
just more space.
the other neighborhoods have the 10 feet also versus the 12 and a half? The other districts, residential, or is that just standard?
It depends on the plan district.
I still like the 12 and a half. I don't know why we're going down to 10,
Are you
honestly.
able to put something in the standard
10
district
is
that
nothing.
says, these are
Okay with 10,
conditional
I'm not okay with 7.5.
allowances, like a side yard setback?
'Cause that's
Again,
still
if you're
20
looking to
feet.
give
How
more
many's
open
yours?
space. Let's say you
Mine's
give
12.
30% open space,
Mine's 12,
then
and
you
that is
can
not
have
enough.
7.5 yard setback.
Just 24
You're not allowed
feet.
to do that
How
in
far
standard
is yours to
district.
the neighbor?
Okay.
Well, keep in mind, I'm in a corner, but the
Go
other one
look at
is.
the ones that are 24, they're nothing. It's awful. 24 is so close. I don't know how I agree with the 10-foot setback. Maybe in that district, but when we discussed that, I don't think I agree with that. But with the fire code, yeah, why don't we like the 7.5? Because it's just too close together.
It's just a personal preference.
Yeah, is 10 feet doable on a 6,000 square foot lot?
Well, if you do a 55-foot lot and you require 10-foot side yards, then you've got 30-foot wide house.
Sounds like an affordable house.
It sounds like it would be, but then look at
It's-
Evans Farm.
No, see, I rest my case. There you go.
Yeah, well, that's a different.
Yeah, if it's small, you can build high density, you can have high density expensive housing, or you can have lower density expensive housing. There's nothing else in the township. But I like the idea of, and that makes sense. You could have cluster housing, that might be, because
Because that leaves
Somerville,
more open space.
yeah, and Somerville Village is an example, and years ago that was developed, and there was a lot of hate for it up until like 12 years ago. Oh, those houses are so close together, but now, the
Where's
cluster,
Summerfield?
just right across the street with the pond and the entry feature right to the, is it to the, wait.
Oh, right across from the fire station.
Yeah, over here, yeah.
Next to
And
Portuguese,
it's
okay,
cluster
yeah.
housing. It was the only one that was ever approved. I mean, back in the day, cluster was
Yeah.
probably like low
They've
density.
got a preponderance of 60-foot by 120-foot lots.
Yeah, they have very small lots and people are all outraged, but then you have a lot of open space, there, so, and then it kind of came back into vogue. But you probably couldn't build that under these standards, is what you're saying, or something like that.
No, I'm not saying that. They would still just have to come under a PUD, not under your standard district,
Yeah, but it couldn't be built under the standard district, right?
not the way it's written, because of the
Okay.
10,000 square foot minimum lot.
Okay, so you're suggesting 6,000, what size would that be?
Well,
25?
60 by 120 is 7,200.
Okay,
But you show 55-foot width. I'm not sure where that number came from, but if you did 55 by 120, I can't do that math.
It's like
in my head.
6,600.
yeah, maybe 7,000 or whatever would seem to be appropriate.
6,000's kind of, you'll find in Dublin, 6,000's the number,
Really?
I think. A lot of the townships, 6,000.
But as long as the density or there's enough open space to make up, so maybe more the cluster style, yeah,
Yeah.
I might be, depending on what that looks like, I might be in favor of that, makes sense.
Yeah, I think the intent, one of your intents is to do a zoning code that's more simple to go through the process and fewer variances and things like that. So
Yes.
if your standard district is more flexible, then,
So then if we did, say, a 7,000-foot minimum square foot lot, I hear you saying 60 feet rather than 55 width.
oh,
and
don't,
three-
no, don't, I'll
Haha.
get.
And 3 units per acre,
We
like
can-
all
we can
those
do some
things.
math.
Right.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, then by logic, your open space goes up because you're not allowed to have more units in there, right? So if you have smaller lots and the acreage doesn't change, you get more open space.
Yeah,
than
it's more
20%.
clustered, and less maintenance for people. I mean, if they want to be that close to their neighbors, I mean, sometimes it causes a lot of disruptions, and, you know, when you can hear everything person's doing, it can be annoying, but,
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thanks, John.
all right, thanks, John.
Anybody else?
Paul Tout, 1385 Franklin Street. I was here last month, and I expressed how hard it is to understand zoning living in the village. And I just want to say thank you to Michelle and Robin and Trustee Ringgold. They took some time to talk to us and really helped understand the new zoning code and what the desired outcomes were, and, you know, really felt like they were being seen where we are. So I appreciate that.
Awesome.
There are a couple of just small notes. I think the advantage of the lot size being a factor is, like, in those permitted uses, I don't want my next door neighbor to knock down their house and build a cell phone tower, right? But they can't do that because the lot is small enough where they would have to get an area variance. And then we all show up and we object to that, and then it doesn't happen. So the lot size is a funny thing. There are some advantages to keeping it on keeping into account with the setbacks, that anything that they're trying to build would go to a variance and give the neighbors a chance to come out, right? I was also wondering, as someone who has a home occupation, like, do we know how many home occupations are in Orange Township? Like, I know we have a desire to foster small businesses, but
There's not a ton. What would you say, like 100 or 200 or less?
There's probably less. I mean, we could look back and get those numbers. I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, since we've been here, I can think of 2 or 3.
Yeah, maybe
maybe 4
100.
at most.
There aren't very many, it's just there was a proposal for the expanded home occupation in here, right? Is that right?
So if I'm an accountant and I work remotely from my house and I just see people virtually, do I have a permit?
Probably not, unless you were super rule abiding and called.
It's, don't ask, don't tell in that case.
Okay, just
Well,
wondering.
everyone works, so many people work out of their house, no one knows.
also that Trustee Knapp, I think you were mentioning the architectural standards. Those come into play with the multifamily, the denser things, because I just learned recently, last night, the roof is a big factor. Because when we say 35-foot height, we're probably thinking in our head like a pitched roof. But if they do a flat roof, that's a 3-story building, whereas a slanted roof is a 2-story building. So those architectural standards, if you're trying to do any control on the density, it really comes into play with those multifamily areas.
Do we allow, what's the roof structure for,
There's no required roof structure.
Ooh, can you put that in there? Can
what do we
look
have
at some
currently?
standards?
We don't have any.
Nothing currently.
But they
I don't
make
want
them
it.
always have pitched roofs, though. Anytime anyone's proposed any kind of flat roof, well, when I was there,
We've like,
it has to be a certain pitch, like
looks like
412 or something.
Yeah.
I never thought about taking another story, but usually they don't look good with flat roofs. It's not very appealing visually, but someone could try to build, right?
Yeah, just something to consider. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Could you look into minimum, maybe some kind of roof standards? I don't know if that's even possible,
I don't
but
know.
I thought do we have
I
a
thought
current
we had a
minimum?
roof
I
standard.
thought we had a
So
minimum.
some of our older plan districts have, the common language is pitched roof or pitched roof appearance. For
Okay.
single-story buildings, generally for multi-story buildings, it's allowed to have a flat roof.
Even like single family? Or are you talking about commercial?
No, for commercial.
What about single family?
I don't know of
thought-
any residential plan district that has a requirement for pitched roofs.
Really? Okay. They just must always ask for it.
I-
But what
and
about the straight districts, though?
there's-
So wait, a straight district could come in and if there are no standards, have a flat roof? If the standards don't include,
I mean, nobody has ever come with a product that has had a
Not-
residential product that has had a flat
not
roof.
yet, not yet.
Even
I
the,
mean, I just don't know in Ohio that it
What's
works.
it-
Would work, no. But you know, I mean, who knows? Let's look this up.
Yeah, we can do some more research.
Liberty had a
Developers-
612 pitch, and
What is it?
612.
What
as I
is-
recall,
it's in
it's fairly steep.
It's in the code, or?
Yeah, it was written into the code as far as standard in residential district
Oh,
anyway.
it is, 612 for residential, okay.
Multifamily and single-family?
I'm not sure about multifamily, we really didn't have.
I don't
Yeah,
think I'm
looking at-
necessarily concerned about single-family. I feel like those flat roofs don't exist there, but
Probably not.
multifamily would be the
Yeah,
thing
that's
to look
smart.
into.
And sir, did you give your address? Did you give,
1385.
1385 Franklin Street.
sorry, okay. And what was your name again?
Paul Tapp,
Paul.
How's your last name spelled?
T-O-U-T.
Okay,
Thanks.
thanks.
Anybody else?
My name is Jay Danner, it's D as in Daniel, live at 5682 Rocky Shore Drive. I don't really have a statement per se, I'm working with a number of our neighbors, kind of, we're concerned with some proposed development at the corner of South Old State and Lewis Center Road, BP gas station with a Duchess, convenience store, drive-through restaurant with business space, and a fire station. Not really prepared to go into all my concerns tonight. I really want to talk with my neighbors and kind of come in as a team. But I did have a couple questions. I don't know if you can answer them or not. If you can, cool. If not, I'll see what I can do otherwise. We are looking at petitioning and, obviously the way people do things now, it's like more online. We're struggling to find a petition platform that allows you to include names and addresses. I think you can adjust some of the settings for a little bit more information, but I know you got a list from like the change.org for I think the North Road development, and you said it was kind of like 232 people signed up, but I don't know their names and I don't know their addresses. I mean,
Yeah.
In my head, that doesn't sound very persuasive. Am I correct in assuming that, or?
Yeah, you would definitely want to have your address sit in there, because we would need to know that you're, your residence or where you live in the area. I mean, I guess you could submit that, and then someone could submit a separate list if they
I mean,
wanted
that's
with
one of
the
things we're trying to
addresses.
figure out, because I think it might say the person's name and maybe like their zip code,
Okay.
but it doesn't give like the nitty gritty, like that's my house.
And it might take you guys walking and,
What's that?
walking around to the neighbors and getting it on paper.
Yeah, I mean,
You could do that too, but yeah, I mean, you could do that, or you could do a combination of the two. But if you did do the change.org, you should probably submit the addresses of the people, you know.
Okay, so we would, I mean, okay. That-
Because we want to make sure that, people aren't from other communities or someone that lives close by. Obviously, there, even though I live in the far west side of the township, but, well, so my opinion, still, obviously, I'm very much opposed to that development, but, the general vicinity of where the person lives, if they live really close to it, I would take their consideration even more seriously, because if they live within half a mile, and if you get a bunch of people in that area, and then people a little bit farther, but, people living necessarily like in a whole different city or something, where they're just putting their name on that, would not be taken seriously, so maybe
Okay, so
something like that.
Initially, we might be able to present you with, like, this is how many people, I mean, and I'm just thinking like from a time constraint, like, we got 250 signatures, we're busy tracking down the addresses on these people, because I mean, obviously, I don't know if or when they're gonna fill out an application for a zoning change.
Right,
but, okay, so that helps. Do you know, we're consulting with an attorney, land use attorney, and he said you may want to talk with the trustees about whether, if we're talking about how would that kind of development affect our property values. He's like, some people are okay with, like, I have a realtor providing an assessment, and they write a report, like, here's what I think would happen, given the proposed changes. He said sometimes people prefer like an official appraisal report with that kind of detailed information. He's like, some people, they're the same. Some people, appraisers a little bit more, carry a little more weight than just a real estate agent. How do you guys feel about that?
It would depend, because if you had someone on the record who's a realtor, they could run some statistics, I guess. I mean, it might be hard to get appraisal, that might be,
For me, it's what would hold up better in a court of law.
yeah, an official appraisal would, but you could have a combination of both, you know? But definitely, the person should provide some kind of, like, data to back up what they're saying, you know, and that can be hard to do. And sometimes it's just a perception of how people feel in an area, you know, if you feel less safe, or, you know, perception is a reality in some ways, or if you feel like your property values are going to go down because you have to look at something every day. And it's also that more emotional type of response as well, so maybe a combination of the three. But yeah, if you know an appraiser that could provide that information, that would be the best, if possible. But we would listen to all of it, of course.
Okay. And then last one, I've exchanged emails with Robin about land use plans. So there's like the 2018 one, there's the 2010 one. Well, I assume maybe there were ones before that, but those are the only ones that are available online, or like he can provide, you know, from, the other ones like tucked away in a corner somewhere, or?
Like things haven't really changed that much. I mean, did they? The 2018 is the more recent one,
Yeah.
but I feel like the actual designations mostly stayed the same. Just some of the descriptions were changed. Did we actually change? Oh, I don't know how much changed. The process started in 2000, so there haven't been that many iterations of it.
Yeah, and we can do some more digging.
Yeah, you may
The
find
only
it.
reason I ask is our attorney said, you know, depending on when Delaware County or Delaware Properties LLC, who owns the properties,
When they bought it.
when they bought it, you know, maybe the land use plan said one thing, but now the 2018
Oh,
says
that
another.
would be handy. I'm pretty sure it was always residential, but yeah, that makes sense. I would get, Robert, I'm sure that stuff is somewhere.
Nancy will know.
Nancy knows, yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, I don't think it's changed. I don't believe it's,
2010 is like, it says, you know, FR1, and it still says FR1.
oh, yeah.
The 2018 one is, I mean, the 2010 one, I felt was like more paragraph form, and then the 2018 is more bullet
Bullets.
points.
Yeah,
It had very specific,
more
here are
detail.
the expectations, here's what the plan for the future is, and I didn't know what maybe it
So-
looked like in 2000.
Yeah, and there's one, I think one of the properties was bought in 2016, and the other one was
Two of them are
90s.
93, one of them is 98, and one of them is 217.
70, yeah. So those are all applied, but it's always been, I think, residential. But that's a good idea to look into that. I think we just provided more, rather than just farm residential or whatever, they added additional things to make it,
Right.
you know, more, but, yeah, we haven't had too many of those, but the plan was always no residential east of the railroad tracks.
No
And-
commercial use.
Oh, sorry, no commercial use. No, it's been a long night. No commercial east of the tracks. That was very, very important to the people back then. And then Evans Farm was kind of the anomaly to that, and I don't think I would ever want to approve something like that again, but it's always been, at least, that, we never planned on it going to commercial. But yeah, Robin can probably find that.
Okay, I mean, those are my questions right now, but thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anything else?
Well, so
Very
that's really my question for you, is anything else, you know, anything else we want to talk about tonight? And/or, you know, do you have specific topics that you want us to research besides what we've talked about?
Right.
Anything we should research, or anything that you want to discuss for the next hearing on the rewrite?
Are there any other communities that have this type of zoning resolution in the area, or?
Straight districts, sure.
Yeah, or just all these revamped, yeah, I guess, yeah. It's so different.
Does Berlin have mostly planned districts?
Oh, yeah, I've never seen a straight district here ever.
Delaware County, the norm is planned districts.
Yeah, I don't think
Interesting.
here I've ever seen, since 1998, I don't think I've ever seen a straight district. I mean, Robin, have you ever seen one? Did you say no here?
What
in the
about like in
township?
Violet Township when you worked over there?
Violet Township was a mix, but it was more straight districts.
More straight? Oh, yeah, I don't, have you ever seen a straight district in Orange?
I mean, besides
C2?
C2 and FR1, no. I mean, there's been no rezoning request to a straight district.
Right? Oh, yeah, I haven't actually
Yeah.
seen that. I mean,
I'd be interested in like Westerville and Dublin and
Yeah.
New Albany and Upper Arlington, all that, Worthington, all that kind of stuff.
yeah, I just would like to see, like, I mean, I feel like developers are pushing us into higher densities and whatever they want, but we don't have to give them whatever they want. And I've been more firm on taking more of a stand of that. If they don't want to develop here within our standards, then they just don't develop here. Because if we could have some kind of affordable houses that start at $500,000, that would be great, but it's not possible. I mean, it's just not. You have 1,200 square foot house on a,
Crazy.
I can't
Prices
imagine
are
what that
so
would be.
high,
Yeah, so, I don't know. Too much traffic, too many people, too many taxes. Let's see, anything else that we want him to look into?
So the conversations for the next time is figure out some of these answers that we brought up tonight. We'll discuss the densities with all three of us being here.
Yeah.
We obviously need to set the date for that meeting.
Yeah.
Can we make sure that I know we don't like notice for because it's just a continuation, but can we make sure that, a week, 2 weeks before, that we're kind of pushing it out on social media and website and all that kind of stuff, that this is happening?
Is it not on the face, is it not pushed out? I haven't seen it, but
I had I thought about it this morning at like 6 o'clock.
it wasn't pushed out at all? Usually she puts some blurb on.
I didn't see it in
look.
the last, I just
Okay.
kind of scrolled for the last 2 weeks or so. It
Oh,
didn't pop
usually
out.
sometimes
Yeah,
she'll just,
I mean, it's always on the zoning report, so
Right.
that's always on Facebook, but I don't know that we made a
Like its
specific.
own
oh, a
thing.
specific,
If
okay,
we could
that's
just
where,
make it its own
that's where
thing,
I'm
that would
seeing
be,
it. Yeah, that would be
know,
helpful, even
yeah.
though no one's gonna come out on a beautiful night.
Right, yeah, this is a great night to
The
go play
weather's so
disc golf,
beautiful,
not to sit
yeah.
inside the building.
And then we discussed like October 8th,
Oh, right, that's what we need to figure out. Is that when
that would be the best for me,
I can do
if
October 8th.
possible. Wait, let
So,
me
yeah,
just,
so I believe the three potential dates were September 23rd, October 1st, or October 8th.
wait, let me just double check.
I'm out of town October 1st, but you.
I'm
all
not
can have
picking a
fun
meeting without you. Nope,
You can't.
hard past it.
You-
Nope, you have to be here.
Yeah, October 8th would
October
be
8th
good,
works
yeah.
for me, yeah.
And if we
And-
think of anything else, we'll
Yeah,
send it to
Yeah.
you in the meantime.
yeah, any questions that you
Questions.
have or,
Okay.
topics that you want to discuss,
Yeah.
that would be helpful.
Because if we
to know in the
can-
meantime.
Nailed on the densities, and we don't have any other questions at the end of that next meeting,
Then hopefully, we can take that feedback.
and then
for
you
you
give us the
next
clean draft code, and then we'd have like one final meeting to be like, thumbs up.
Yep.
Okay.
Are we reviewing any more, or is this?
Well, that's the question, like, what else do you want to review? So
Well, I
I've
thought
read
we were
the,
going through the whole, are we going through the whole thing publicly to get input?
That's not the plan unless.
Oh,
you,
just
as a
part of
board,
it?
Really want to do that.
so that was all done in the zoning commission process? Everything you went through every section and,
Yeah. But then this is the final,
yeah. I would like to wrap it up this calendar year in 2025,
yeah.
if at all possible.
I'm just concerned about the law of unintended consequences.
Correct. No,
where,
I get it, yeah.
You have it's like your car, you have
Yep.
your tire's loose, and then instead of fixing the tire, you take the whole car apart. And then next thing you know, there's screws everywhere and something doesn't go back. And that's,
Right.
we've already seen developers take advantage of loopholes all the time. I mean,
And we'll probably have to make updates and little amendments.
yeah,
and that kind of
but
stuff.
then
The goal is-
hopefully not an update where, whoops, we didn't have
Right,
this,
the
or we didn't
hopefully
have,
is
when you're
not that.
redoing an entire
Right.
thing, it's very hard to anticipate everything that could go wrong. And these attorneys will come in and they'll read it and they'll find some loophole, and next thing you know, end up with self-storage next to a residential area or whatever, gas station in the middle of a neighborhood. I don't know. But that's been my major concern. And that I just want to make sure we're not lowering our standards also. But, so maybe, are you planning to review any other sections?
I mean, we'll go through these topics. I think we'll go, the zoning department has been reviewing this on our own. We'll go through and see if there are any more kind of highlights that we want to pull out. We would love guidance from you all as to what
Yeah.
interests you the most, because I don't think we
Have to go through the
logistically, we
whole
just
thing,
can't
yeah.
cover every topic.
Yeah, it's just, it's hard. When you actually live in the community, you have to live with it, you know, and not everyone lives here, so. Okay, all right. I'll think of some more.
You all are welcome to visit my house in Columbus, where my house is 15 feet from my neighbor, and my lot is 7,000 square feet,
And it's
Is it?
okay.
and it's okay.
But it's probably still really expensive.
Affordable housing, no. I don't think it exists in most parts of Columbus, but, no.
Okay, any other questions?
I have nothing
Comments?
further.
Nope.
Okay, meeting adjourned.
So we need to continue.
Oh, fine,
Oh.
continue. I make a, do I have to make a motion?
You do have to.
Oh, yeah.
I make a motion to approve, wait, I lost it, resolution, what were the numbers? 25?
225.
25-225, to continue this hearing until Wednesday, October 8th at 6 PM.
Second,
Mrs. Faust?
Yes,
Ms. Knapp?
yes.
Motion carries.
okay, thanks. Now, meeting adjourned.
I don't think you have to adjourn if it's tabled, though.
Okay,
But you
meeting,
can
whatever.
adjourn.
We're done.
We're done, we're out of here.